Ruby, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So to start, you're obviously not a stranger to action movies in any way, shape, or form, or action roles for that matter. But in this one, I do like that it happens in the trailer where we get the labeling of what everyone is. And I like that it is like she has built a team and they're all great women, but they all have special skills. And I think that's very fun to kind of unpack for you as an actor when you get labeled as like the medic. How does something like that kind of help you when you're building out a character and how they interact in this world?
Oh my goodness. So much, obviously. I mean, just knowing what your function is and what you would have sort of excelled at previously on the battlefield is important because you need to know that your character has the way around, whether it be the first aid kit or whether it be what to do in those sort of emergencies. But it's a mind, gymnastics kind of thing to because in one and as soldiers, we're going over there pretending to be there to give aid and having nothing to do with any kind of war. So we have to sort of all be medics, if you will. And then we get into the actual, the mission of it. And then everyone has their second fundamental functions, which sort of comes into play a lot more. And obviously, Medic's been on the battlefield before. This is not the first time that she's been
Mhm.
there as a soldier. But yeah, mostly she's always been the one that's sort of helping people after they've been injured, not so much causing the injuries.
When I do love that it is, it's the idea of like a women, like quote unquote women in a movie, but it is the situation that they have found themselves in makes it so it has to be a group of women doing this thing.
Yep.
Um, a lot of the times when we get stories with a bunch of women at the heart of it, it's either like a forced narrative or it is like people put something on it that it doesn't need to have. And so I like that this is like, no, there straight up was no other choice. These women had to kind of band together to get this job done. Does that kind of help you guys when you're making an approach to something because the tone is very clear when you get a script like this?
Yeah, and look, we were really lucky because a lot of it was on the page. Like
Mm-hmm.
you read the script, it's there, you know it's there. So you feel protected that that is that, the aspects that we're going to be taking and that everyone's on the same page. But I think in addition to that is that we were watching documentaries, most of us, I think. I shouldn't speak on behalf of the whole cast, but I'm pretty sure that everyone was doing that. And we all read all of the books that Martin suggested. So we'd actually had a great amount of time reading through, Ashley's War is one because it has one of the first ever all-female commando groups put together. And it really talks about how they chose that group, how hard it was to even get in to that level, to be accepted before you're even going into missions, and about the whys, why did it start? How did it start? Of course, how many males within the army and the forces were against it to begin with until they saw the data. And it was intelligence that showed them that the information that they want in a lot of these places will be held and kept by women and children. And men are not allowed to talk to women or children in these countries. They're not allowed to touch them, talk to them, period. Even just, civilians. So for them to be able to have women go over into these countries at the time that they needed them to get information, to talk to locals, to better support locals, was actually a hugely beneficial, part of what we were doing, and a huge shift was made, and thankfully. And so we sort of play on that in this as to why we need to have the all-female cast. And I hope that people know that's because we've based that in real life, So I'm glad that you know that, but I can just imagine that there'll be people that are like, well, that would never happen. And it's like, it has happened many times. That's why we're talking about it, because we want the people that have been there, the women that have been the women to be able to watch this and see themselves and to be seen for the heroic sacrifices that they made.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, a little bit soapboxy.
no, it's fine. When you talked about the books, and I always think it's fascinating to ask an actor like the preparation work that goes into something like this is is a director giving you a list of books to read or like your own like research? What do you find the most helpful and beneficial when you're like working on a character?
I get a bit silly because I live alone, so I can, like, I mean, I have three dogs and they totally buy into it. But I mean, even the room I'm in right now is this green color because before we did Dirty Angels, I decided to paint this room this like green color and set up like a little mini army situation, just so that I could read my handbook, the Rangers book. I mean, I've read all of, I don't retain half of a quarter of the information. It's really tricky. But, I really got into the idea of this. You wake up, you go on your walk, you just getting very regimented,
Mhm.
very sort of detailed in everything that I was reading and consuming, making it very sort of political or militarized or survival or basic medical training stuff. So I had like all the little first aid kits and all of that stuff. So I love to go full in, but you can't, I mean, it's not even necessary for a lot of the characters that I've played before. So it's, I just thought that for this, it could be something that would be fun, and it was. And I think it did bring a lot to being medic, because I just felt, I thought a big amount of responsibility, I guess, is the right way to word it.
I want to ask you about, like, I always ask about how costumes help actors and things like that. But for you specifically, I always think every time I hear your name, I think of that video you did. I'm a millennial. So it was like years ago where it went from you in a blonde wig and like what is deemed as like a beautiful woman into like how Ruby Rose looks. And I like think about it all the time because I was like, yeah, that's a great way of not only breaking down like how women are beautiful in all different forms. It doesn't matter what the typical beauty standards are, but it also is like a play on costuming. And so for you, how important is costuming in your kind of preparation, since you have such a distinct look that people instantly are like, well, there's Ruby Rose in comparison to these characters that you've played?
Yeah. By the way, I almost had like a wicked press moment by like crying at what you said. I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. You'll never do it as well as them.
Thank
Uh,
you.
but yeah, break free. Thank you for bringing that up. That means so much to me. Yeah, just can you touch my finger? Now I've forgotten what I was saying. What, just saying.
Break free.
But after that, you were saying
Oh, the
about
costuming.
costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what was also interesting about doing Dirty Angels is that with the costuming, of course, I wasn't really thinking, but I sort of assumed would be an army type gear. And of course, that wasn't. And I thought maybe I'd get a haircut much like this, But of course, we were meant to be really not sort of alluding to being in the military at all. And we were meant to be there undercover, sort of as bringing medicine and aid. So it was sort of, I was expecting to feel all commando in commando type gear. And then I was like, oh, that's right. We sort of have to be in civilian clothing and keep this sort of looking a lot more natural. And so then it was like, you feel a lot more raw as a soldier inside, I mean, as an actor playing a soldier inside of a civilian outfit once more again, because it's just a lot of layers where you feel vulnerable walking in around, Pakistan or Afghanistan with people staring at you, and you're trying to sort of persuade them that you're something that you're not, and you think you're doing the right thing, but really who knows when it comes to wars like this. So it was complicated.
Yeah, and I too, with this group, like if I was led by Eva Green into anything, I think I would just be like, "Yep, here I go." Like, where's Eva Green telling me to go? Especially the like it says it in the thing where it's like from the director of Casino Royale. I'm like, yeah, it's Vesper Lynn and the director of Casino Royale back in action with this movie.
Yeah.
But when you guys are on set and you have a leader like Eva in a movie like this, how was it kind of, not only like honoring your characters, but like working as actors all together to make this team as strong as it is in the movie?
Working with Ava was a blessing. I mean, Ava is the most incredible woman that I've ever met, and we speak every day still, and it's been like a year or 2 years or something. But we just had a fantastic time on this, and I think she takes it very seriously. She takes what she does very seriously. She also wanted to make sure that we were honoring women past and present in the military. So we were all on the same page. We were all really thrilled to be there. Plus, we were in Bulgaria and Greece and Morocco, and having someone like Eva at the helm, who is a divine actress. Period. But also, she's a great personality. She's very, she's just very present, and she's always there and available. She's very supportive. You feel very comfortable to play and go there with her, in a scene, which I love. And her character and my character had a really good kind of thing going. So, it was really excellent. Yeah.
Well, and for my last question, I want to ask, now that this movie's coming out and people are going to see it this Christmas, what for you is the most exciting part about kind of going like this to your work and letting the world kind of view it instead of living in it and talking about it with just the people who are making it or like press?
Well, wasn't sure that it was maybe a Christmas film. So when I saw it was coming out for Christmas, I kind of thought, let's see, let's see how this goes. But to be fair, I think any time is a good film
Mm.
for any time is a good time for Dirty Angels, and to watch this film. But yeah, I was a little worried that I couldn't, rally everyone to go see this outside of like the happy Christmas films. But I think, when it comes to a good story, a good script, well directed, well, edited, everyone involved in this was so phenomenal, like David Tattersall and just a list of people that have worked on all of your favorite films, probably,
Yeah.
And so there's no real, I'm not attached to it anymore. Like Medic had her journey. She did what she needed to do. She did her mission. And I feel just sort of whole after that, regardless of sort of what it does when it leaves us.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time with me today. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for everyone to get to see Dirty Angels.
Yay. Thank you so
Yep.
much. Nice
Nice
to meet
meeting you. Have a
you.
great one.
You too.